Well, move to our second speaker, who's Dave Stewart, and he's also joining us online. And Dave received his Bachelor of Science in Civil and Environmental Engineering from Pennsylvania State University, and he is a licensed professional engineer and a board-certified environmental engineer as well with the American Academy of Environmental Engineers. He also has over 30 years of water engineering experience and works with the Capital Region Organization and Civil Office. So Dave, we'll pass it over to you. Let us know when you're ready.
I am. Can you see my screen okay or not?
Yeah, we can see it in note format.
Okay. I'm not sure which screen I shared, so I just...
Maybe the one at the bottom on the right for the presentation.
Yeah, let me try that again.
Can everybody else online hear us now, or?
Yes, I can hear.
Sorry about the glitch. That's great.
Okay, there we go. So my talk is going to be a little bit different than Alan's. Alan has a great organization in Panama and very impressive. I'm a past president of Engineers Without Borders for the U.S., so I was glad to see EWB was part of the support for his projects. But my project on innovation is really about a different way of innovating in Rotary and trying to get community involvement. And so if you live in the Western US, especially dependent on the Colorado River, there are about 40 million people that depend on that river. And we've got a huge conflict in that we have a compact that was negotiated in the 1920s. And that compact is coming due in 2026. And we're going to have to figure out how to lower the rate that we're currently sharing. Typically, this happens with very technical people using lots of data, but very little community involvement. So my project is really about how to use the four-way test to get more community involvement in this Colorado River Basin. I'm doing that with the Gates Family Foundation, Center of the American West, and Rotary. So our proposal is to do two things with a call to action. So the first part of that proposal is to do a video where we're going to put video together to share with the 1,300 clubs in the 7 states. So those 7 states are California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming and Colorado. And so what we'll do is we'll send this out as a program. So it'll be about a 25-minute program video that will explain the issues, and I'll go into that in a second. The second phase of this then is to then have experts available streaming into the meeting to be able to do Q&A. One of the biggest problems you have with the complex issues associated with the Colorado River is that a lot of people don't understand what the issues are. And so our whole goal here is to be able to do that. Third part then, second part will be a conference that we'll hold in 2024. That'll be at the Water Center at Colorado State University. By people and Rotarians, both experts and Rotarians to this conference. And hopefully to, again, much like Alan's project of trying to have interaction on a personal basis, we hope to do that with Rotarians and experts to really come up with a usable solution. Third part of this then is to have these Rotarians, which are community leaders, become involved in a call to action. So our proposal in phase 1 is to raise about $88,000. Rotary clubs right now are providing about 15% of that funding. We have a foundation, the Gates Family Foundation, that will be providing matching grant. Then we're raising funds from smaller donations that are impacted by the Colorado River Compact. What we hope to accomplish is to reach out to the 1,300 clubs in the 7 states. That's about 10,000 to 15,000 Rotarians. And Rotarians are normally community leaders. So our whole goal here is to help these Rotarians understand what the problem is and then become involved. Right now in 2022, we have 2 to 4 million acre feet of water that we're short. So the river typically would do somewhere between 15 to 17 million acre feet a year. Right now it's averaging about 11,000 acre feet a year. So that's a significant deficit, and we don't see any change in that's going to increase that yield. So 11,000 acre feet, it needs to be split differently. So how do we manage that? That's a really good question. And how can we encourage others to become involved? And that's what we hope to do with Rotary. But the unique part of this is that we're going to use the 4-way test to do that. So about 6 months ago, we had Patty Limerick from the University of Colorado in the center of the American West speak at our Rotary Club. And she was talking about issues on the Colorado River. And I asked her at that meeting, wouldn't it be interesting to try to renegotiate the Colorado River Compact with using the 4-way test? And she'd never thought of that before. And that was a unique take on that whole issue of negotiation. So we put this program together, and what we hope to do is bring all the parties together. So that's the 7 states, the native tribes. So the tribes were not involved in the first compact, although they have very senior water rights to the compact. So that puts a special twist on that. There are 27 tribes that are in the Colorado River Basin. And so we need to be able to bring those tribes and together to help with their issues as well as solve the other issues. We have energy users. So one of the reasons we can grow very good crops in the Central Valley, California, and the Imperial Irrigation District is that the electricity is only about 3 to 4 cents a kilowatt. The reason that that's so cheap is because of the hydropower from Glen Canyon and Hoover Dam. So if we don't have enough water, we won't be generating the power, which then affects our food supply. So that's a part of this that we have to negotiate. Agricultural is probably the biggest user of this water, so we need to be part of this. And then we've got municipal and industrial users. That's that 40 million people. So we want to develop and coordinate this educational video. The unique part of this is to have an expert panel after the video. So those experts will be coordinated by both Rotary and the Center of the American West. But you'll show this video at a Rotary Club, and then this expert will be online to be able to answer questions real time. And again, we're using the 4-way test to present this information and how to peacefully negotiate the water sharing among all the affected entities. Our call of action then is to impact these community leaders by, one, contacting their local water agency, contact their state water commissioner. Every state that contributes water to the Colorado River has a Colorado River water commissioner. But this will be finally approved and mitigated in Congress. So the U.S. Congress is the one that will ratify this compact. That's important because California has more representatives than the 6 other states. So we need to be able to do this in a way that's fair to everybody and that can be beneficial to all as well. That's why we believe Rotarians need to be involved. So this is a kind of a short storyboard of our project, but first minutes is to do the water importance in the West what its uses are, the environment and storage. What's happening today? We had, when this compact was originally negotiated in the 1920s, we had very wet years. And the reality is that it became a political solution. So the water doesn't care about politics. It follows the geography and the terrain of the river basin. So we need to be able to explain that. We have issues with prior appropriation. That's first in use, first in right. How are we going to share this among the states? And how are we going to share between the upper basin and the lower basin? We've got negative aspects of this, of being, how much water is going to be available, how are we going to make that work, conflicts with the tribes. We have an international treaty to deliver this water to Mexico. How is that all going to work? But we do have positive stories, Las Vegas being one of them. Both, they had a situation where they were using about 100 gallons per person per day. About 20 years ago, they determined that they were going to run out of water in about 3 to 5 years. As part of that, they came together and said, we need to figure this differently. Today, rather than that 100 gallons per person per day, they use about 35 gallons per person per day. That's a significant change. That's something that we can learn a lot from and use that as a goal. We're going to explain what goes on in the various states, and then what individual Rotarians can do, and then again the follow up by our expert panel. So why is this innovative? It's innovative because we're getting Rotarians involved in an issue very important to their community. Much like the Polio Plus program that we've done worldwide, water is our next big issue. Water is something that we don't have enough of. The same amount of water that was on this planet when it started is the same amount of water that we have today, but it's different. It has some waters are saltier, some waters are contaminated. We've got real issues, but water is something that every one of us needs on a daily basis. So we want Rotarians to hold these politicians and the technical issues on how to solve this. We want them to be part of this solution. Rotary provides that unique opportunity because these community leaders can be involved and they know all about the four-way test and how that works. The political climate is not helpful in today's area. The four-way test helps us then to resolve some of these issues and does it where it's beneficial, it's truthful, and everybody can benefit from it. So with that, like I said, this is a different presentation than what most of you are seeing today, but that's what we're planning to do. So with that, I can take any questions.
Thank you very much, David, for that presentation. I'd like to open it up for questions in the room. Yes.
Hi, Deborah Deal with 9 Power Clean Water and also the New Mexico Desalination Association. Can you tell me who I would talk to for the New Mexico Desalination Association to get involved with this effort?
So desalination is going to be a big part. There's a very good article the other day. I'm not sure where I saw it, but it was talking about USGS's salt loading on the Colorado River. And when the Dolores adds to its flow to the Colorado River, the salt content goes up dramatically. And we actually have an agreement with Mexico that the salt content has to be at a certain level, hence the human desalination plant. So salt is going to be a big part of this. So that's part of the environmental question about the environment and how we need to be cognizant of what the environmental impacts are on this reduction of water from 15 to 18 million acre feet a year down to 11. So environmental component of this is going to be a big part of this compact that was not considered in the original compact, and it needs to be, because the river is only really useful to us from an ag standpoint or from a water use standpoint if it's got the right water quality. So yes, desal will be a big part of what is going on with the river.
Who do we contact to get to attend this conference or get involved with it?
That'd be me. So yeah, I'm kind of leading this effort. So with this Rotary project. So we've got myself, Patty Limerick, and Joanne Silverstein. Joanne is an engineering professor at the University of Colorado. But we have a panel of experts. So our experts are about 50 people right now from all 7 states. And we reach out to a lot of the different universities and NGOs to be part of that expert panel.
Can we have a phone number or email or something?
I'm happy to, Charlotte, I'm happy to have that shared with anybody.
Okay, I'll connect with you.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
My name is Fatu, and I am with Delhi National.
I can't understand the question. Can somebody repeat that for me?
You speak a little bit louder, sorry.
My question is, we're not dealing with the surface water, but groundwater. Try to drill the well in Mali, West Africa, and we drilled up 400 feet down, and we found it in flat, and we got stuck there. Is there any advice, or I know you have input and everything from you, but if you have any suggestion how it must happen?
I couldn't understand the question. If somebody can repeat it, I'd be happy to answer it.
Yes, so I think the question is do you have, whether, first can we put you in contact about experiences in drilling wells that they've met issues in drilling wells down to 400 feet where they've been wrong. So any experiences or suggestions on how to address that challenge?
You know, that'll probably be part of phase 2 when we start getting into more of the technical issues associated with the river. For example, in Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, groundwater is considered part of the river. So when we account for water that's leaving or being associated with a particular water right, tributary groundwater is part of that river compact or river system. That's not true in Arizona and in parts of California. So part of our negotiation is going to be working with these other states to say we all need to be on the same playing field. So if the upper basin states are using tributary groundwater as part of the river system, the lower basin states need to do the same. That's a significant issue, especially in Arizona, because the Gila River in 1920 was delivering 3 million acre-feet of water to the river, to the Colorado River. No longer does that because of agricultural interests, but that 3 million acre-feet was never included in the river compact, even though it's tributary to the river. So part of this is that we need to really understand what the differences are between the two, between the upper and lower basin, and how we're going to again fairly share that whole water resource as part of this.
Hi Dave, Lynn Johnson, Old Rotary. I have recognized my question earlier. How are you going to involve the political perspectives of the tribes and the other special interests in your advisory group in formulating and creating the video and then by extension, the negotiations that would happen.
So I think the way that that will happen is that the tribes actually have a group called, where the 27 tribes are together. So, but only a few of those actually have a developed water right. So the tribes have their own issues internally because a lot of them were promised infrastructure so that they could develop their water right, but were never given the funds to develop that infrastructure. So it becomes an issue of, well, you never used the water. Well, I didn't use the water because I didn't have the ability to put in the infrastructure to use the water. So there are some issues that have to be resolved there. The way we're doing that is we've reached out to that committee of 27 tribes, and we've also reached out to the group in Boulder with the Native Legal Fund as well, and we're hoping to have them present their side of that equation. On the reverse to that is the Gila River Indian tribe. They have a very well documented how much water they used, where it all went, all of that. So they're in a much better place. Colorado Ute has also, the Mountain Ute has also done that same kind of thing. So there are differences between the tribes. That also plays out in the environmental field. People are trying to get the Colorado River to be defined as a person and have the same rights as a person, which would be a dramatic change from where we are today. So is that appropriate? I don't know the answer to that, but is that going to be part of the discussion? Most likely. So the environmental piece also has to be part of this, that the river used to go all the way to the Sea of Cortez. It no longer does that. There isn't enough water to do that. So, but that has environmental impacts as well. So part of this is that we've got to understand what the environment is, how that's all going to play. That goes back to the negotiation piece of this, that we need to be looking at these aspects, but not necessarily just from a technical viewpoint, but from a relationship viewpoint about how all of us can share in this valuable resource.
Yeah, and I follow up, I don't mean to be provocative, but I'm having trouble with the four-way test. And this is perhaps my own shortcoming. Is it beneficial to all when everybody has to lose?
The four-way test is, in my opinion, is something that in my opinion, it neutralizes the politics that are going to take place. There are going to be unbelievable politics as part of this negotiation, and as we all know, politics is very polarizing today. So how do we do that? With one of our people on our committee is a guy by the name of Dr. Bill Timpson, and Bill was is a professor emeritus from Colorado State, but he does a lot of peace work around the world. So he works in Burundi, for example, where there was a genocide. And he was also one of the negotiators in Ireland when Northern Ireland and Ireland were negotiating a peace compact. What he found is that he was able to get people to agree on probably 80% of what needed to happen. And that 20%, he said, we're never going to agree on that. What he found, though, was that they could all agree on infrastructure projects. Everybody needed a water line, or they needed water for their field, or they needed some bridge to be built, or some sewage treatment plants to be built. And so they all agreed on that. Well, that's what we think this four-way test will help in bringing that to reality, in that we're really talking about infrastructure. The river does not have any political, it's not a Democrat, independent, or a Republican. It is purely a river that flows. And we all need to share in that. How do we do that equitably? And that's why we think Rotary can play a role in this, because they've been able to do it in other areas, in our peace efforts around the world. I think that can be a big part of who we are.
Thank you.
4 minutes. Anybody online or Fred? Is there anybody online? Question. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Alessandro Sachs, also board of Rotary. We met once. Since we met, how many more Rotary clubs are taking part or are thinking of taking?
I'm sorry, that was garbled. Can somebody repeat that? Sorry.
You've met Alessandro before. He was just asking, since you last met, how many more Rotary clubs have spoken to and have gone on this project.
So, I think the question is how many Rotary clubs.
Yeah.
Right now we have 2 Rotary clubs and an individual Rotary member. So we've been working with the Boulder Rotary Club, my club, the Fort Collins Downtown Club, is where the district grant was. We've reached out to the Boulder Rotary Club. An individual from the Boulder Rotary Club has made a contribution as well. So that represents about that 15%. The other entities that we're reaching out to are like Northern Colorado Water Conservancy District or Sherman and Howard law firm. So we're reaching out, and what we're trying to do is keep these contributions small. And then we've got a large matching grant from the Gates Family Foundation. But by keeping these contributions small, it helps us to spread who's involved and how we're doing that. And we're getting these NGOs and water users to contribute throughout the 7 states. So again, it's trying to make it a small contributions, but a wide variety. So this first phase is 88,000. The second phase, we think, is 150 to 200,000 for the conference. We're going to be bringing in speakers from all over the world. So we know Israel, Palestine, and Jordan know how to share water. Regardless of all the conflicts that happen in that area of the world, they do share water, and they know that they have to share water. So we've got the same situation where we've got upper basins that most of the water on the Colorado River comes from Colorado and our snowpack, and we know that we're not getting the same snowpack that we used to, but there are things that we can do to help with that situation. There are things in the lower basin that they can do to reduce their usage right now. So those are things that we're all going to have to work together on to be able to share this resource.
Okay, thank you. I know we're probably going to be cut off in a couple of minutes. So before we do, I wanted to say thank you to both our speakers and also Landon for joining us today. This was a very informative session on thinking how the social community engagement side is really the innovation that we're looking at in a lot of these projects and areas. So I'd like to do a round of thanks to both our speakers today, and we'll be heading back down to the main room and out of the breakout room. So thank you both again.
Thank you.